like changing kind of the course and going like backtracking after doing retail and restaurants and labor work and all that stuff. It's like, how did I find where I'm at now?
You're good.
So thinking about times in my life where I was like I hit rock bottom so many times. Like you saw tons of times. Like you're one of the best friends I've ever had. And you caught me a bunch of times when I fell. Give me a place to stay or you know, a couple bucks here or there if I needed a ride or something like that. Like I always felt like I could count on you for whatever was going on. And so sometimes I had too much like weird, shitty, false pride to tell you about what was going on. Like when I was in college, I remember my dad had re-kicked me out. And so it was like when I wasn't at college, in between semesters and whenever there's like long breaks, I lived in like my shitty Ford Ranger that didn't have like a back seat, so I couldn't recline. And I was working at Poultry Products with my dad, who wouldn't talk to me even though I'd see him every day.
Didn't he get you the job there?
Yeah, because he worked there for like my whole life.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't talk to me while he was there because he was pissed and thought I was like an embarrassment, which at the time kind of was. But I wasn't at college. I didn't have a real place to live because Marco lived in Maine and I was working in Hooksett, New Hampshire. And so I would sleep at the Target parking lot in my Ford Ranger and then like wake up at 4:30 or whatever, go to work right down the road in a freezer, lugging around boxes of fucking meat and stuff. And then hate my life. And then go when I was done work, like walk around the mall and spend no money because I didn't have any. And then go back and sleep in my truck. If I got to go to Margot's house, I got to shower or I got to do some laundry every once in a while. But like it was miserable. I was like, dude, I'm homeless. I live in a Ford Ranger in a Target parking lot. And I didn't know. I was like young. I didn't know how the fuck I got there. You know what I mean? It bums me out to think about that kid. Like I wish I could tell that kid who had all these aspirations. I like wanted to play sports professionally. I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be a comedian. I wanted to do all these things. And probably if I had anybody to fucking push me to do it, I probably could have accomplished something better than what I did. At least maybe played sports at a collegiate level, you know, but nobody like brought me to a camp to learn a sport better or something. Like everything that I did playing sports or whatever was like off my own learned ability. So I was a pretty athletic kid, like capable, you know. But I never had like a polished game. Like even now, I play basketball in men's leagues and stuff. I didn't make basketball team in middle school or high school because I didn't play team ball. If me now at 38 years old played basketball against it's like 16 or 17-year-old me who could like put a basketball over the rim and I ran a 4.6 40, I would still kick that me's ass in basketball now because I just understand the game because I was patient enough to learn it better. Nobody gave me those skills. So I'm like, I had all these goals and I'm working at a fucking warehouse and sleeping in a truck. So I always tried to find better. I thought it was car sales. I thought it was this and that. But I'll tell you, I was with Jenna. I was working at the mall at Hot Topic and in Steeplegate.
Steeplegate. Okay.
And we had already like moved to Minnesota and came back. And I went back to the mall.
Okay.
I knew this girl that at the time was dating the owner of Lucky's Barbershop. And she was like, yeah, go get your, because she cut my hair and she was doing Jenna's hair. She's like, go get your haircut by my man. And I was like, okay, maybe. I saw him on Black Friday at like 4 a.m. We were both shopping for TVs.
Oh, shit.
And I just recognized him from like, you know, seeing him around. I was like, hey, man, like, I know who you are. I want to get my haircut at a barbershop. I've never been to one. but I don't know what to do. Like, do I need to know a fucking secret handshake?
Secret
Or
handshake.
like, is there like a email list, or do I need to buy a gift? I don't know what the hell to do. And he was like, you just show up and write your name on the board, and then we'll give you a haircut. I was like, okay. I think it was like 2 weeks later. Took me a little bit to get there, but I remember I walked in. Everybody said, what was up? I'm like, hey, how's it going? Sign in on the board over there, have a seat. And it was only 4 chairs. And while I was sitting there watching these guys give haircuts, they had vests, ties. Some of them had scally caps. Everybody had cool hair. The environment was cool, playing songs I recognized, like different like rock music, and like people were just on the bench. Almost nobody knew each other, and they were talking to the barbers, talking to the people in the chairs, and it was just like this open environment. And for like the first time, I was like, I'm a stranger at a place, and I don't have to do anything to try and fit in. Like, I don't need to draw attention to myself. And just like watching people sit, get this transformation, pay, and leave feeling like $1 million and looking forward to coming back, I was like, holy shit. Because the skill that I have, like the best skill that I have, is charisma. And if you put fucking charisma on a application to an adult job, they're like, that's great, but how many fucking words per minute can you type? Right? Like, they don't care about charisma. Take your fucking charisma and get out of here. So I saw these charismatic dudes cutting hair, and everybody was feeling cool, and I was like, I want to be a barber. And so I had to fight with myself mentally, because I was like, is this just you having like this like FOMO? Like, I always saw people do a job, and I was like, I would love to do that. That seems like it'd be neat. That's probably why I had 1 million different gigs. So for like a decade, I talked about cutting hair. Finally, I had done a tour. I felt like the person I was going on the road with was kind of falling off. And I was like, I need to get Warped Tour, or it's not going to work. And I didn't get Warped Tour. These guys said yes. And then we talked money and all this stuff. And then 2 weeks before I was supposed to leave, they said no. And I had already told my work. I worked at Chipotle. I had already told them, like, hey, I'm going and doing Warped Tour. So I quit. I was like ready to be done.
Oh, Jesus.
Didn't happen. So I was like, what do I do? I get a job at a lumber yard that my mom worked at briefly. She was like, I can get you a job at the lumber yard. I was like, all right, Eileen, I'll go sling wood. And after like 2 weeks of being there, you know, and I charisma'd my way in. Like, I got paid a little bit more than everybody else. That was like newer. They're like, yeah, you could probably be a manager here. And I was like, yeah, because I'm not a stupid idiot. I'm not an ex-convict. I'm not a like a I don't know. I was like kind of middle of the road and have like regular, not that ex-convicts are stupid idiots. I've known plenty of awesome ex-convicts, but I just didn't like, they saw me as somebody who like could learn more than just the lumber aspect. Maybe I could do some of the sales or some of the management. And I was there for like 2 weeks, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? I think I ended up working there a total of 4 months. And I was like the outside forklift operator, doing that in the winter in a forklift, going out and getting lumber sucked.
Oh man, yeah, that was been cold as fuck,
dude. It was the worst, and it was like a thankless job. Like, nobody cared what you did or how hard you worked. They were like, great, so the orders got fulfilled. And all I ever wanted was like to feel like I was doing something that mattered. And I was always having this lingering thing in the back of my head, like, yo, barbering. And I was going to Lucky's all the time to get my haircut. And so finally, the girl that I was dating, I was like, I think I want to sign up for barber school. She was like, if that's what you want to do it. Like, we could afford, like, I would work extra other jobs or odds and ends.
Is that Adrian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Working odds and ends so that I could go to school and like just work after like going to school and just figure it out.
Yeah.
I was working at Green Street Rec Center, running like the open gym there.
Yeah,
I was working. I was doing all sorts of shit. And I went and did like a tour of the school. And the lady made me feel so comfortable. Her name's Miss Elena, like one of my favorite people I've ever met. made me feel incredible, and made me feel like I was like I could do this. Like, because I was like, nobody's gonna accept me back for school. I hadn't paid any of my student loans from when I went to school for three semesters, and I had kept getting told like no, and I had this resilience about me that was like, my bank has been overdrawn $1,000 before. I've had not a place to live. I've had like people kick me out of their life. I've been dropped a million different ways, made tons of mistakes. Like, this isn't a fault of other people. Like, it was me fucking things up or self-sabotaging
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't think I deserved stuff. And finally, this lady talks to me and makes me feel like I could probably do this thing and it would work for me. And I saw how it was at the shop. So I said, I think I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I signed up for school, and it was a growing experience. Like, I still thought I was like the class clown and stuff, but I was getting good grades on the exams, and I was humbled pretty aggressively. There's a dude, Chris Allen, that is in the program with me. I'll always respect him because I was like making dumb jokes and being a big mouth. He's not that kind of dude. And we were really good friends at the beginning. And then as he saw how I was, he started distancing himself. And I was like, what's going on? He's like, I just don't like how you are. And I don't surround myself with stuff like that. It's nothing personal. And I had to like stomach that
Oof.
from this
Yeah.
dude that I also respected because we're going through the same process. And like to this day, like I don't think he's like out there being like, yeah, that kid sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll always feel like I let that dude down, and I have a lot of respect for him in the barber industry, right? So he's doing a great job working at a barbershop in Mass, and like did everything right. We both graduate together. We make it through. I had like a super high GPA, which I had never had. I also had never graduated anything to that point,
Yeah.
right? I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't even graduate 8th grade. Like I didn't get the. This is the first time in my life, and they have a graduation ceremony. Like when you graduate your hours, you can start working. But then they have a ceremony twice a year where, like, if you had graduated between ceremonies, then you get to go to the next one. And dude, my brother came from Rhode Island. My parents were there. It's like the first time any of these people got to see me get my name called and walk across the stage and take a like a diploma or a certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like one of the most emotional things that ever happened. I almost didn't finish school because I separated with Adrian,
Mm-hmm.
and I needed money, and I had a tour opportunity, and I almost went, and then I didn't, luckily, because the tour ended up being a shit show and it was stopped halfway. But the school talked me out of it. And the day that I was supposed to leave for the tour, I was like, yeah, today's supposed to be the day I was going to leave, but I'm still doing this. A guy left Lucky's. This is the fucking shop that like made me want to be a barber.
Mm-hmm.
And I was cleaning there. I was like sweeping up like twice a week and, you know, getting paid a couple bucks here or there or whatever. Not doing haircuts, but just cleaning the shop and learning from them, just being around it. I was like, I'd like to throw my name in the hat for that spot. I'm about to graduate. And Craigie was like, all right, I'll let you know. And 2 weeks had gone by. So now I'm going to graduate in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you want to talk about work? He like sends me a text. And I was like, oh, okay. Am I in trouble? Like thinking I wasn't cleaning right or something. He's like, no, about like cutting hair. I was like, oh. I go talk to him. He's like, I'd like to offer you a spot. You know, well, here's what your schedule would be if you want to take it. And I think it'd be a good fit. And I remember like, this is the first time in my life this ever happened. Like I left that meeting with him. And as soon as I got to like the sidewalk, I was bawling and I called my mom.
Oh, really?
Mommy, I got a job. Right, dude. And so I worked there, and it was like, it was the coolest, dude. It was the coolest thing ever. The feeling that you get when you give somebody a haircut, they get to share some stuff with you, and then they pop out of the chair. It was like, I'm 34 years old, getting into this shop. And you kind of had seen me, like you had mentioned before, like I had a bunch of skills, or I was like good at a lot of stuff, but I never like held on to one thing, or I was never like finding the thing that was going to like make me seem like grown up.
Yeah, I feel like you were um searching
Yeah, I don't know.
for the thing or the
Yeah,
job or the career or whatever it was that was going to fulfill you, with that satisfaction
like
of whatever it was you were looking for.
nothing ever felt like
But
I was never proud of it.
yeah, and everything you did, like you've had a lot of jobs, but I feel like since I've known you forever, like every job you did, you were really good at. But you just didn't
Go
stay
on, no,
you just didn't stay there long enough.
right?
Um, but when you started doing the barbering, I was like, oh no shit, that's cool. Like, yeah, I think there's something there.
Yeah, you said something to me
Yeah.
that I'll literally never forget.
What's that?
Because by the time I had started barbering and like got into it, had been cutting hair for maybe like 2 years, I get this offer because my mentor is about to retire.
Mm,
The lady that taught me to cut hair, Miss Annie, she's a whippersnapper, dude. She's been cutting hair. She's forgotten more about cutting hair than I'll ever learn. Right? She's crazy, incredible, like strong woman, and she's about to retire. And I had gone and done a demo at the school. I stopped down every once in a while to get my hair cut by students because I wanted to pay it forward.
mm-hmm.
And so one of the other instructors was like, you should think about, like, she's going to retire. Maybe you want to put your name in the hat. So I told the general manager of the school, hey, like, I want to teach. I was so in love with barbering. And then I started to teach, and I was so in love with that. And I was reporting to you kind of like how it was going all the time. You'd come
Mm-hmm.
get a haircut. I talk to you about it. I'd be like, dude, I'm making pretty good money. Like I bought that Jetta. Like the
Mm-hmm.
first time I bought a new car, like a new car, and first time my credit score was like above 400. I was like, I got like a 700 credit score. Like finally,
Yeah.
I'm not the scum of the earth. Like all of a sudden, I was like, wait a second, I got to pay out for taxes because I'm a 1099. Like this is all new stuff for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you said to me, I promise you, I'll never forget this till the day I die. So I cannot express to you how much this meant to me. But you said, I'm envious of you, and I was like, you've been in the military and fought for our country and saw aggressive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You got married, had two hilarious kids that, like, I feel like you guys are my family.
Mm-hmm.
You had a job working for the National Guard, and then you got a civilian job that was also like an adequate gig, and then you made a change to get into real estate and started to see some success with that because Amy had gotten into real estate, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you got this house, you got like all these, like, not that material things are a sign of happiness, but like you had stuff, and you were like, you knew who you were. Like you spent all this time trying to figure it out, and you figured out who you were in
Mm-hmm.
my eyes. And then you said to me, this guy who like lived in a Ford Ranger for a little bit and felt like he didn't have didn't have any guidance, or he didn't have a way.
Mm-hmm.
You said, I'm envious of you because even though like you have your shit, there was nothing that you were as passionate about as I was barbering. Like I knew I wanted to do it for so long, and then I finally got a hold of it. And like my arm hairs are kind of sticking up thinking about it. Like I'm getting goosebumps, like thinking about you saying that to me, because that thing, that moment of you having that self-realization, like, holy shit, like no matter what you got into, there's nothing that hit as hard as barbering hit for me. And that was the thing that I had been chasing for forever. It was something that I thought had like some longevity, because impermanence was the thing that ran my life.
Mm-hmm.
And now I was like, I can do this for forever, and I fucking love it. It was the coolest shit I had ever done. I get to make people feel the same way I felt when I left the shop the first time I got a haircut at Lucky's. And then when I got the job opportunity to teach, it was full circle, because when I went to college, I went to be a teacher. I just wasn't a schoolie per se, but like teaching this trade
Mm-hmm.
and then getting to relay my story to these people like, hey, I'm somebody who it wasn't a business degree. It wasn't a go to a 4-year college, figure it out, and then work at Starbucks to pay off your student debt, even though you got a degree doing fucking not what your degree was in,
Mm-hmm.
It was like I started working. I graduated school on Wednesday. I started working at the barbershop on Monday. The following Monday, I got paid like $700. And I was like, holy shit, right? Because it was like
Yeah.
immediate money. And
Yeah.
everybody else is like, I'm still trying to find a job, got this degree. I spent $100,000 on like barber school for me was like, I think $10,450, not $100,000. So when I started to teach, I got these students in my life.
And you gained a skill that people need forever.
Right.
Like people need to eat. People need to, like they need their haircut.
Right.
Like your hair needs to be cut.
Yeah. And that's something that like, I'm sure AI will figure it out eventually or something. I hope not. Knock on wood.
There's
I'm
no
sure
fucking way AI will be able to cut
But-
hair like a
but-
barber. There's no way.
But I'm telling you, dude, like
Yeah.
I just didn't think I was capable of signing up for school and doing well again. And I
Mhm.
did it. And I didn't think I was capable of teaching and having people pick up on the skill
Mhm.
that I learned from. But I did it the way that my instructor taught me. And I
Mhm.
like I've heard like background stories from all sorts of different stuff. A kid who came from Puerto Rico, nobody wanted to teach him English because he was kind of like too much work for them, so they just pushed him through school. And then he started selling drugs, and then all of a sudden he got this girl pregnant when he was like 15 and she was like 16 or something. And then it was like, what do I do? And he started cutting hair. And then he never made it legit until he signed up for barber school. But he had a hard time passing the exams because he didn't speak and read English very well because
Mhm.
nobody taught him. So I like bought him a Spanish version of the book. Like then it changed this dude's life. He
Mhm.
cried when I got him that book. He said, nobody ever treated me like this. I was like, holy shit, I've never felt this fulfillment.
Mhm.
And that's just one of the million instances. A kid, I asked him, why did you want to become a barber? And it was like the third day of me with my own class, my first class. Why do you want to become a barber? He said, my dad died when I was a kid, and I was like maybe he was like a supercuts kid or something. He said, my mom brought me to the barber shop for the funeral, like so I could get a haircut for the funeral. It's the first time at a barber shop. And for the hour that he was in the chair, he didn't bring it up to the barber. He just kind of like sat there, and the barber just made him feel cool, got him to talk to you, like, and have a good time. And when he left, he was in a good mood.
Mhm.
Like a kid who's at his worst ever in his fucking life. And then he gets a haircut by a barber, and the barber made him forget about the worst thing he could ever have happen to him up to that point in his life
Mhm.
and make him feel like he's having a good time. That feeling that he had made him at like age 12 or something say, I'm going to be a barber. So he turned 18, graduated high school, signed up for barber school, went through barber school. Now, like I hear that and my fucking heart melts.
Mhm.
Now, the kicker is the dude that gave him that haircut owns a barbershop, and the shop that hired this kid was that dude's shop. So that guy hired him, and then I told him that story, and he was like, holy shit. Because we don't even know that we do that to people.
Mhm.
We don't even know that for that hour or that 45 minutes or whatever you get, that you get to connect life for people in a way that they didn't know was possible. Like, I don't think that I'm worthy of that power, but it just comes with the territory and it came natural. So for me to find a way to connect it for people as an instructor and have them go like, holy crap, thank you so much for teaching me this. And then have a career, dude, holy shit. All I wanted was for somebody to give me guidance.
Mhm.
So now nobody ever gave it to me in the way that I felt like it was benefiting me. I had to figure it all out on my own. So when people get to me at school, if I hear similar shit, and like you know me, if I meet people within a few minutes, I'm pretty good at being like, all right, like here's your story. Like I can kind of pin people before they like, how the fuck do you know that? Just pick up on trends because I spend so much time watching people.
Yeah.
So I get these kids or whomever, because I get people that are, you know, fresh out of school, fresh out of high school, or I've had 2 people that are like 60 years old, and I'm teaching them how to start new or start a career or whatever. And once they find the value in that and realize that it's not just about how good you can cut hair, it's about how you make people feel, then you become a member of your community.
Mm-hmm.
Cut a plumber's hair. Now you got a plumber who will help you out. Cut a car sales, like whomever.
Yeah.
You do give all these haircuts, those people help you out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
For
so
sure.
that shit locks it down for them, and they go like, I am bought into this company, like into this industry, into this trade. And I've seen so many people, like, you know, I'm on my 6th or 7th class.
Mm-hmm.
So many of those students have started careers and been like, Mr. Dan, I just bought my first motorcycle, or Mr. Dan, I finally got my own place, or Mr. Dan, I opened my own barbershop. Like, this dude who thought like swimming in a pond by himself with no adults around and making his own ramen was like the way that I was going to have to live and have no direction. Now I'm teaching people and starting their career so that they can make like, you know, some people hit big and make like $100,000 after like a year of cutting hair.
Really?
Dude, the industry is money.
No shit.
Yeah. Especially depending on how hard you work.
Barbershop? They
Yeah.
can make 100. Wow, no shit.
Yeah. I mean, depending on what the shop charges, depending on how many haircuts you do.
And you got to be good, obviously, too.
I mean,
right? I imagine.
Listen, shitty barbers are out there. Like skill wise. I'm a regular barber. I'm not like some incredible. I never claim to be.
Still to this day, you have given me the best haircuts I've had. Now, I mean, I've had haircut. There's a woman in town here, actually, that's
she gives a great
probably
haircut. Yeah.
Equivalent to what you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, like, you give good fucking haircuts.
But
hands down.
But that's like entry level to the industry. I would say to the students, like, that's 30% of the gig. The other parts that are, how clean are you?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do the people feel when they're in your chair? Because that's what makes them come back. There are barbers that give shitty haircuts but have repeat clientele. Why? Because most people don't care about the hair and they sit in the chair and you make them, then you make them feel good. It's their time to come bitch to you about
they value the
experience.
Conversation and experience over. They can deal with haircut's okay. It's not the greatest, but you know what? I love talking to Dan because he makes me feel good and we laugh and we joke and he actually has interest in what I'm doing in my life and he engages in conversation rather than just being like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, there are dudes at Lucky's that are significantly better barbers than me. Like, their haircuts look photoshopped.
Mm-hmm.
But as like their books go, within a few months of me working there, I had more people wanting to get hair. Like, once we went to appointments, I was booked. And there were guys who were the nastiest fucking barbers I've ever seen, but they weren't booked because they weren't talking to the people. You know? Like, everybody has to learn that that's part of the industry. It doesn't matter how good. If you just cut their fucking hair and don't say anything to them, they're not going to be like, yo, that was the best experience of my life. Like, imagine sitting there awkward. Like, yeah, you feel cool, but for an hour of your life, you were like...
not saying anything.
Yeah. This fucking stranger, like, moving you, fucking touching your ears. Like, you're getting intimate with this person. You don't even fucking talk to him. So...
yeah.
So... we talked about what barbering and teaching was like, how it started to affect me.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff that you said, how that hit home for me. Right?
Yeah. Once you got into barbering, I was like, yeah, I think this is what Dan's going to do. Like, this is what he likes. And then once you got the offer to teach, I was like, yeah, because I mean, I know you fucking 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And I always had a feeling like like you said, you always want to help people. And I'm like, well, here he's helping people and he's teaching. He loves to do both those things. So I'm like, boom, this is
And
it. Like, this is what he's doing.
and I'm also like, everybody's paying attention. It's like,
well, yeah, that too. But
it's like I get to be like not the star of the show, but I get to be the person who everybody's getting the information from, and I
Yeah.
like that responsibility because I like to be right, or I like to just be like the point of the information, or like kind of be able to be like, yeah, like you can count on this. Like I'll take care of it. You know what I mean? That stuff always meant a lot to me.
mm-hmm.
Goes back to like needing attention. I'm
And
assuming, but
going back to what you said about what I said to you about being envious of the passion that you have for barbering is like, I kind of still have that. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of things I'm really into, but I don't know if I'll be as passionate about one of those things as you are about barbering. I can see it too when I go to get my hair cut there, you know, and you do a demo for the students, or just watching you teach when another student's cutting my hair. It's like, dude, the amount of fucking energy and passion this dude's putting into teaching this person to make sure that like they do the best that they can is like inspiring, to be honest.
I appreciate
you know,
that.
and it's like, wow, like fucking, you know, he's not half-assing it,
yeah,
you know, at all.
it's you
that's
hit
awesome.
the nail on the head saying how much effort it
Mhm.
is, because like there are days at the end of the day of teaching that I'm like exhausted, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, that many fucking people, and like some, I can imagine, you know, some students are just fucking not with it.
Yeah,
you know,
well,
just, you know, to be polite.
and having to be on all the time. You know, I'm sure you can relate. Like in real estate, when you're talking to people, it's got to be you take the phone call, and you like we send each other fucking raps that we do, audio messages.
Yeah,
I'm like,
ridiculous shit.
hey, guess what? I pooped up my butt. I'm going to Pizza Hut, right? Like it's like the stupidest
The
shit.
dumbest shit
And
ever.
we
Yeah,
and
yeah.
dude, and it's one of my favorite things we do. But you could be doing that, and then you get a call, and it's a client, and you got to be like, I'm pooping up. Oh. Hey man, what's up? This is Corey. Hey John, how's it going? Yeah, we're gonna be doing that walkthrough. You know, like you
Yeah.
know what it's like to have to play that role.
Mhm.
So like I'm at the school where it's barbering, so I still treat them like human adults, but they call me Mr. Dan. I have to dress a certain way. Like I have to teach them curriculum. I'm not just teaching them how to cut hair. Like I go through the theory, I book work and give them homework and
Mhm.
check their understanding. And it's crazy how much random knowledge I have because of barbering. You have to learn electricity and microbiology.
Well, you have to
and,
learn how to teach.
Yeah,
as well.
dude.
Like there's things I know how to do. Like I mean, I've been in the military for 16 years, so I mean, teaching is part of, you know, being a leader.
Right.
But teaching is a skill. You know, you could know how to do something really well, but know how to articulate how to do it to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. We had talked about this before, and this isn't to kind of like undercut it or take the importance from it, but I want to answer this even before you ask, because it hit me now as you say that. The best advice that I've ever received,
Mm-hmm.
it was reiterated to me by a person at the school, Miss Danielle. She was reading a quote from a book, and like this made so much sense to me that it applies to everything. It's like, if you want to be understood, first you must understand. And that is like the key to people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if you and I didn't know each other and I was trying to get you to do something or buy something or just even listen to me, it's got like connection is a give and take. So I can't just be like, hey man, I'm gonna throw like the people at the mall that try and get you to use the hair straightener or fucking put their hand lotion on during the holidays. Like those people at the kiosks, right?
Yeah.
You just walk right by them because of like, excuse me, my friend, here, put this on your hands. Trust me, it's gonna make you feel great. You should buy this for your wife. And like, they're not giving you anything that makes you feel like they actually give a shit about you. They're hoping that they catch you with like the lotion, and then they'll talk to you about stuff. But the reason that we get annoyed by those people is because they're not taking any time in the beginning to understand. They just want to be understood. Hey, get what I'm selling you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if I want the students to learn from me, I have to try and connect by being like, I get your style, or I get your interest in this music, or your interest in this sport, or your interest in this art, or your interest in it. Like, I ask them questions because that's like what you do in sales. That's how you learn to connect people in sales, right? Like, I'm going to interview you or do like the consultation. And then you're going to tell me all the shit that's important to you. And then I'm going to use that to like cater to your wants and needs.
Well, I just had an appointment Sunday, and I send the sellers a questionnaire to, it's a series of questions that gets me to literally do what you just said, understand their emotions, their motivation, why they're selling. What does it mean to you if you don't sell?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? You know, and how can I mitigate that risk?
Right.
You know, so I think that if you show the, you know, in my case in real estate, the seller or the buyer, whatever, that you really are trying to understand them on an emotional level and what their motivation is, that it's going to make them feel more connected to you as an agent or as a barber.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I didn't get that listening, but that's a whole different
Hey,
story.
you don't, I mean, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah,
So
that's
you still
true.
got to take them, right?
Yeah.
But I think that idea of what's important to you about whatever you're doing, why don't you tell me that? And then when they tell you, then you can cater to, like, I can cater to how I teach that person.
Mm-hmm.
If this person's like, I'm like, why you want to be a barber? They're like, I want to be a barber because the barber I get my haircut from, like, makes me feel good every time I go there. Like, for me, that's how it was. It was like, I liked how these guys made a room full of people feel like they were all friends, even though nobody knew anybody. If somebody says something like that to me, I'm like, okay, cool. I can teach you by way of like relating. Here's what's going to be for the community. If somebody's like, I really want to do a good fade, then I go, okay. Like, I'm going to really hone in on the skill part of this so that you can see like that you'll develop the skills to do a fade.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be excited. So it has to be catered to what that particular student is looking for, you know, in their future through this career. And then they catch on to it. If I just taught one way for everybody, nobody would give a shit. Right. So with that being said, I started listening to, once I started teaching, I started listening to audiobooks. We talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
And the coolest one, I bring this up a lot. I bring it up to every class. It's like, because I want them to be comfortable.
Exactly what book it was.
I want them to be comfortable living uncomfortably. Right. So they got to step out of their like safety net, their comfort zone. Right.
Yep.
Because their comfort zone is fear. Right. Like, think about that. Why are you not taking this risk? I don't know. It's out of my comfort zone. So your comfort zone is like, you're too afraid to do that. So that's what you're comfortable. You're comfortable being in fear, scared. Yeah. That sounds fucking dumb to me. This is where I'm the best, is when I'm hiding under my blankie. Right.
Yeah.
So when they start barber school, it seems overwhelming. And I was listening to an audiobook. I told you about this before, but it was like this dude and his brother were little kids, and their dad owned an ice company. And the dad at the ice company that he ran, it was like a one-man operation. And he had this building, and there's like a fucked up brick wall. And so the dad was like, you and your little brother, I think they were like 7 and 9, you guys are going to fix this wall. I'm going to teach you how to like make the bricks. So he tells them like the recipe to make the bricks. They put the recipe together and they put a brick down. Like, so they start doing this. And the guy was like, dude, this is like some chain gang shit. Like, we didn't have the right tools. If he had a pair of adults do this, it would have been done in a day. But instead he had me and my little brother do it, and it took him almost a year to do it. They worked 7 days a week because dad worked 7 days a week. So when they were done school, they'd go do this. Rain or shine, didn't fucking matter. Mm-hmm. One of the days they were bitching about like fixing this hole in the wall, like fixing this wall. And the dad could hear him. The dad came out and said, "Hey, like, shut the fuck up."
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is in like the 70s. So they spoke to their kids a little different.
Yeah, for sure.
But he came out and he was like, "Hey, stop talking about the goddamn hole in the wall. Like that, I didn't tell you to fix the hole in the wall." He's like, "I told you I want you to make a brick and put it where it goes, right? I taught you how to do that. That's what I want you to do. Make bricks, put them where they're going. Can you do that?" Kid's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Make a brick. Make a perfect brick like I told you." Kid makes brick, gives it to his brother. His brother puts it on there. He's like, "Okay, what's next?" He's like, "Make another brick." He's like, "Exactly." He's like, "So do that." And he goes back in and they're like, "Better not bitch about the brick wall again." Finally, they finish it and they're hyped, dude. "Yo, Pops, we finished this brick wall. This is the coolest thing we ever did. Come check it out." And Dad came out. He looked at it. And he just looked at him. He said, "Now, don't you ever tell me that you can't do something." And then he just went back in. And so when I heard it, I was like, this sounds motivational, but how does it connect? And then the person in the audiobook said, so the idea was, if you think about fixing the entire wall, it sucks and it's overwhelming.
Yeah, it's cumbersome.
But if you think about what your task is at hand right now, make one brick and place it there. So that's for anything. That's for real estate. That's for being a chef. That's for being a barber, like whatever it is. This is for skateboarding. First thing is learn to stand on it. Then it's learn to push. Then it's learn to ollie. It's learn to pop shot, like, right? Like whatever it is. Each one of those skills becomes a brick. And the more you stack those bricks, before you know it, you have a whole fucking wall. So I say that to the students, but I would say that to almost anybody, whomever might listen to this. Like, if you feel like you're going to get into a new skill, or if you feel like you're stagnant in what you're doing, just keep going. Because at some point, something is going to break. I remember being in school and being like, I can't see what I need to fix. You have to develop an eye for barbering. You have to see hair, the way that it lays and where it activates, etc. I couldn't see it. I just wasn't getting it. And every time I tried to do a haircut, it came out the same shitty way. I was fucking up mannequins left and right. And it was like not connecting. What do I do? How come I can't connect this? Then, all of a sudden one day, I did a haircut and it just came out pretty good. And I was like, ah! And so I tell the students that, and they're like, that's not helpful. Like, how do I know when I'm going to get good? It's different for everybody. When you're a baby, it's not like everybody at I don't know, a year and a half, I don't know, baby times, everybody at a year and a half walks. On the day they become a year and a half old, that's when they walk. Like, that's not how it works. Some people walk before that. Some people walk after that. Like, you just learn the way you learn. So you can't look at others to figure out what your scale is as you're developing the skill. Like, once you have the skill, like in real estate, if you're trying to compete for the best results over the course of a month, closing deals or whatever, like, then you can compare. But when you're still trying to figure out like how to write deals, you can't be like, well, that person learned how to write deals super fast. Well, that person learned that part, but there's something else in this aspect that you're better than them at. Right? And so you can't compare yourself, especially when you're developmental. Like, focus on you and just try to be a better you the next day. Like, that's coming from somebody who, like, I fucked everything up. That's why I hit rock bottom so many times, right? But to have the perseverance, to have like the ability to utilize the tools that I've got, which sometimes is just my gift of gab, and like maybe being able-bodied. Like, it's not like I was like I wasn't a rocket scientist. I'm not the smartest man in the world, but I just was able to go, okay, I need to relay excitement for this thing so that it yields people thinking that I'm of value. So one brick at a time, one step at a time, and making sure that when you connect with others, it's so that you let them know you care to understand so you can be understood. That's it, man. Like, that's the biggest shit for me. Those are the best key points of advice.
That's some good shit.
It hits, right?
It does. It does. And since you already answered my question,
You're welcome.
about the advice, but let me ask you this. I think you kind of already gave it, but if you could give one piece of advice to maybe someone looking to get into barbering or really any industry, I think that fits, what would it be?
My brother said to me, he lived in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I never visited him. He was in the military, so he was stationed there. And he had kids when he was there. Like, not all of his kids, but he had a couple kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was there for like 5 years. And I never visited. And then he moved to Rhode Island. I moved to Rhode Island briefly. And I was like, man, I wish I got to go see you in Hawaii, but it was never the right time. And he's like, yeah, it's never the right time to go to Hawaii. But people fucking go to Hawaii and then they figure it out after. And I was like, holy shit. Because I could have gotten hit by a car any day, or whatever. Knock on wood that I don't get hit by a car. I'd probably break the car. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But you don't know what the fuck's going to happen. I know it sounds like kind of stereotypical, but you don't know if there's going to be a tomorrow. So thinking in that mentality, whatever career you want to get into or whatever thing you think you might like, pull the fucking trigger on it. Don't wait, because it's never the right time to go to barber school. Like, I hear people go, I'd love to sign up for barber school, but I can't afford it right now. If you want it that bad, you'll figure it the fuck out. If you want it that bad, you'll go to school. Like, I have students that I just had a person graduate. Their name is Mitt. They're in a barbershop now. They're doing great, but they worked at a restaurant and they lived in Vermont, and the school's in Hooksett. So they drive like
Jesus Christ.
They drive like 2 hours, go to school
every day.
Well,
6 days,
5 days a week,
5 days a week,
Tuesday to Saturday, and then drive 2 hours back, and then work until like the restaurant closed at like 11, and then sleep for a few hours, and then drive 2 hours to school, and they have to be there at 9. So it's like 7 a.m. They're leaving through like the shitty winter weather, all that shit. Like,
God damn.
And they worked at night so they could figure it out. Like, yeah, you're going to hate it, but if you endure for that amount of time, it will pay off. Don't fucking wait. I waited until I was in my 30s. Now, there's probably some benefit. I had to mature, so that I could like be ready for that. I don't think if I tried to barber when I was 25, I would have found the same success, but just take the fucking plunge, man. Like, just do it. And it can work out. Like, look at you. You're like, yeah, I don't know about real estate. And then all of a sudden you just like went after it. And I was like, whoa, you're already going after it? Like, pump the brakes. And then you got into it. And now here you are, like, that's like your main drive, right? I like feel like that's your main thing. I always thought, like, I think about Step Brothers. He's like, I got my real estate license for shits and gigs. Like, people do it as a side hustle. And I thought maybe you were going to do it as a side hustle, but you went after it and made it this thing that it changed you as a person. Your motivation, your inspiration, like where you gain inspiration, that's who you embody. And also, not only go after everything, but don't worry about what other people think. Because a lot of people are too worried, like, are they going to like take me seriously? In between these, when we take breaks, you're talking to me about this podcast and your vision for it. And I've known you since you were a freshman in high school. Like, I've seen your penis before. And a million times. And it's weird shaped. But with that, you still talk to me about this as if it's something you're passionate about and that you're presenting it. And you're doing that without fear that your best friend is going to be like, why are you talking to me like that? You're just telling me out of passion because that's how you are. And you're wearing that hat, you've got that on. So don't worry about what the fuck people are going to think about how you are. And just just do it. Just take the fucking plunge, man. And that's how it's going to work. If you go into it half-ass or you go into it worrying about everybody else, you're never going to do it.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. Action is worry's worst enemy.
Dude.
That's what they say.
Honestly.
Yep.
Be comfortable in discomfort. Just fucking work.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because, being comfortable with being uncomfortable is something you learn being a combat airborne infantryman.
Dude.
It's like,
dude,
if you can't learn how to be comfortable being uncomfortable, man,
it's not going to work out. Like, that's how you made your adult life. It was like, hey, you're probably not going to shower for 6 fucking days.
I didn't shower for 62 days.
Like,
in Afghanistan. 62 days straight, I didn't shower.
If you asked anybody here living there, like, even the worst people who have, like, complain every day, right? The people who complain like their life's so bad. Would you go 62 days without showering? They'd be like, fuck no. Right?
Yeah, when I hear people do that type of shit, like, I don't bring that up. I'm just like, oh, man, I guess that sucks, right? But
but in your head,
I've been through some shitty stuff, like, right, worse than them, but then there's people who do worse shit than me.
Well, and it's not a pissing contest.
Yeah, it's not.
Right?
It's not.
Right.
But, I don't know. It's just fucking whatever.
But if you put in effort, I'm not saying that if you put in effort, you're going to be $1 million a year type of person, or you're going to be the president. Like, I'm not saying that you hear that from your favorite celebrity. So, like, oh, I never thought I was going to make it, and now I'm a famous actor. Like, yeah, I'm not telling you everybody's going to be a famous actor or everybody's going to be like the head of a real estate agency or whatever. But if you put in extra effort, you're going to better your life. Sometimes there'll be ups and downs. You're going to learn.
Yeah, and I think it's overcoming the fear.
Yeah.
Because I went from being a criminal analyst, hating social media, not putting anything out there. I didn't have social media for a couple of years. I had a flip phone.
Yeah, I remember.
Like, dude, I didn't want to be out there at all. But then I became a real estate agent. And on the first year of real estate, I was like, damn, dude, I'm not going to get any business if people don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, no, they're doing a fucking podcast that's going to be put out on the internet forever.
Dude, you completely rebranded yourself.
Yeah, and like, I don't give a shit what people think.
Right.
Like, you don't like me? Don't fucking watch me.
Right.
It's that easy.
When you said something that I think a lot of people could resonate with when they start to do things, and it was just a little while ago today, you said, I don't know who's going to watch this, but if one person takes one thing from this conversation, like, this has been a long one. I know we've been running a marathon. I got a lot of bullshit to say. It's going to be a 47-parter, but if one person heard something that you or I said and was like, yeah, you know what? Like, maybe I should just try, or maybe I should just like try to understand other people first. Then cool, man. Like, that's all it takes. Like, you told me about Goggins, and I caught a video or two of his, and I might not even always identify with like his approach to things, but somebody that's passionate about something and that pushes that hard, that shit made me feel motivation just because of somebody else being motivated. Not even motivating me, just being motivated. So surround yourself with people that are going to lift you up. Get away from people that are going to drag you down.
Yeah, because you are the average of the 5 closest people you associate with.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
And that's 100% true.
Every single time. Look at us as we've grown up.
Yeah. Like, you surround yourself with shitbags like yourself. I mean, no, I'm kidding. No, but seriously, if you surround yourself with fucking people who suck,
yeah,
you're going to suck, dude.
Yeah.
And when I got into real estate, now I've been in real estate for a year, almost 4 years. And I joined the real estate mentorship, and I started surrounding myself with people that are doing way better than me, way smarter than me, make way more money than me. Those are the people you want to surround yourself with. Because, like, what are they doing that got them to where they are? And the more you associate yourself with those people, the more those are the habits that you're going to pick up, that you're going to replicate, that you're going to do, because, like, these are what everybody's doing around me. I should do that too.
Yeah.
you know, or hey, these are all these junkies that I hang out with. They're all doing drugs and meth.
Why the hell not?
I should do it too.
Yeah.
You know, it's, you know,
and it takes the right mind to understand that when you surround yourself with people that maybe like more successful, make more money, to care about what they're doing, push harder. Like a lot of people these days will take that and let it reflect on them as like, oh, why would I try? I'm never going to be what they are. Instead of being like, why don't I just try and pursue that? Because you get to it a lot closer if you try than if you don't, right? You can't just be a poor me. If you started spending your time around a bunch of multimillionaires and you were like, oh, I'm out of my league, you're not going to fucking get anywhere, right?
No, dude, fucking talk to people, ask them questions, like go do the things that they're doing. Surround yourself with the people that are doing the things that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. I'm not saying you're gonna get success overnight, but
with effort,
it's not gonna hurt.
Literally one brick at a time.
Yeah, and grit and bricks.
Dude, grit and bricks. Dude.
All right, you know what? Let's wrap it up.
Yeah,
it's been a bit. Appreciate your time.
Yeah,
good conversation. And where can people find you if they want to know more about you?
Dude, go to my Instagram, Danimal the Barber. No spaces. Easiest way to find me. Reach out. Something like this connected with you, cool. I'd love that. Questions about barbering or questions about, something like I'm not some guru. I'm just a regular dude, but I'd love to help out. And if we can make one difference or we can make one change for people, like that, to me, incredible. Because I always was looking for that, looking for a hand up, not a handout. I still wanted to work for what I got, but I just needed somebody to be like, here's the right way to do it. So find me on there. Appreciate you so much, my man.
Cool. All right, dude. Awesome.